both. I'm Amelia and I'm here with Chris Wright and Gareth, what's your last name?
Call me back, though.
Sorry, Gareth Race, of course it is, sorry. We've had a bit of a reshuffle, haven't we? So, Chris, would you like to talk a bit about what's happened since we last recorded?
Yeah, so I've moved over to become the new commercial director at EMR. So I've forgotten everything I ever knew about Fleet, basically.
Gareth, hopefully you know a bit about Fleet.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. So, interim fleet director.
Woo!
So, cleared all Chris's stuff out of the office. So.
Yeah, excellent. Might be able to move around now. Brilliant. So it's all changed
So
over
what are we
here.
doing today?
So today, sorry, right, let's get back on track. We are returning after our break and we're going to talk a little bit about the Class 180s, which have come to us from Hull Trains, if that's all right. So Gareth, as interim fleet director, can I ask the question about why we're introducing the Class 180s?
Yes, so we are introducing 4 Class 180s. The reason that we're introducing them is that when the Class 360s come online in December 20, we don't have enough meridians to operate the Sheffield and Nottingham diagrams on their own. And therefore to allow us to withdraw the HSTs from service, we need some additional 125 mile per hour rolling stock, and the Class 180s were available. So the 180s and the Meridians give us enough rolling stock to operate the Nottingham and Sheffield diagrams.
Excellent, okay. One of my questions was going to be what routes do they serve? So it is that route that they won't be going anywhere else, it's just Nottingham to Sheffield?
So the 180s will operate to Nottingham only.
Okay, brilliant. And in terms of PRM compliance, was that a factor in introducing them so that they're better, more accessible for passengers with reduced mobility?
Yes, so the 180s are a much more modern train than the HSTs. Probably a comparable level of facilities and compliance to what we've got in our Meridian fleet.
Yeah.
So should offer an improved passenger experience from a PRM perspective. And clearly the HSTs, there's many people who love them as they do don't love them.
Yeah.
And it'll be an emotional day when they do go, but it is about bringing in that more modern rolling stock.
Absolutely. So we said they've come from Hull Trains. Where are they now? They're currently in one of our depots being worked on.
Yeah, so 2 of them are at Etches Park.
Yeah.
They were the first 2 that we received in early January. They are being stabled at Etches Park as we sort of prepare the project and go through the process of maintenance staff training and then ultimately driver training, crew training, and so on and so forth to introduce them to service. The other 2, we actually became ours overnight on Friday night.
Okay.
2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday.
Exciting.
Yeah.
So we've got 4 now.
So 4.
Yeah.
Those units 3 and 4 are at Crofton in Wakefield, which is where they were maintained previously by Bombardier. At this stage, we're leaving them at Crofton. We don't physically have this capacity at Etches Park to stable them, and the team at Bombardier they maintain them anyway for Hull Trains, so they know how to look after them. So we're going to leave them up there for a period of time until we're ready to move them down.
Great. So in terms of getting them ready for service, will there be changes to how they look externally, because they're quite blue at the moment? Chris, shall I ask the question?
So I think we talked about this a few weeks ago, didn't we? About
did.
The potential of getting some of the mainline fleet into our interim livery. So last week that all got signed off, so that's really exciting. So all of the Class 180s will go into our interim livery. So you can see it's not going to work very well on the podcast, but Amelia's got some visuals in front of her of what we're doing. So they will be very much like the Class 156s which are being done at the moment. So we'll probably do them in a vinyl wrap, mostly white with the aubergine front ends on them. And we're also going to do the same to the Meridians as well. I think quite a clever way of doing them so that it covers up what we call the stagecoach swooshes with a purple band and then mostly white. So there'll be a level of consistency across all the mainline fleet by the end of this year, which will look great.
Oh, that's really good. In terms of training, do we know much about it at the moment or not? I mean, I suppose we can share what we know.
Well, we're going to have to train people, obviously.
All right, well that's that then, isn't it? Yeah.
No, so in honesty, the plans are still developing. There's an awful lot of training to do this year. If we take 180s, you've obviously got the 360s and the 170s. So there's an awful lot of training for our maintenance personnel, for train crew, drivers, station teams, everybody across the business to support these fleets. So it's still a developing process in terms of prioritisation and who's trained when and where and by who and so on and so forth.
But obviously we'll share it when we know, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. And then eventually, so our 180s are just our interim fleet, so they're enabling us to do bits and bobs, the timetable. And so eventually they'll be cascaded out. Do we know roughly when that will be? How long will they be with us for?
So based on the dates that we lease our trains, because they are leased from third parties, the lease runs out at the back end of 2022, as it does with the Meridians.
Okay.
Which is the date by which the bi-mode fleet should be in operation. So clearly through 2022 we will expect a sort of cascading of the bi-modes and a corresponding cascade out of 180s and 222s as we go through the year.
Okay.
Talking about bi-modes, I'm going to check that point.
Yes.
So I got it was very good actually. I got a visit to, we had our what's called a principals review of where we are in terms of the progress with the design and the manufacturing and everything happening last week, and that was held at Newton Aycliffe, which is near Darlington, which is where the new Class 810 bi-modes are going to be manufactured.
I've heard they've got a Wikipedia page now.
I think they had one before. Now they've got a updated Wikipedia page. Yeah. That was really good actually to see the manufacturing centre. I'm sure that over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, various people will be able to get up there and have a look actually as we go through doing the manufacturing. But it's amazing to think that in probably a little under 8 months' time there'll be some body shells actually in the factory of our trains, and we saw the space where they're going to be, and in around about 12 months' time, just over 12 months' time, the first one will be coming out to go off to start being tested. It's that quick.
It's mad, isn't it?
It's incredible, and there's a lot being done on the design at the moment and going through the design reviews. A lot of it on really detailed things like body sides and where the window position should be, and when there's, for example, if you've got a toilet, should the body side just be flat or should it have a dummy place for a window in case in future you change the configuration around? So the level of detail that goes on in those design reviews is amazing. And I know, speaking to Rachel Turner, who's the head of New Trains and looking after the bi-mode introduction, looking at then how we're getting the various staff involved in terms of some of the more staff-facing areas and making sure we're designing that around their input as well. It's brilliant.
180s have a checkered past in terms of performance and reliability.
In what sense? Just they don't do many miles before braking?
It's quite a small fleet, and they are renowned for being a bit delicate, and some of the sort of the miles per incident type performance and things historically hasn't been great, and a lot of people who will listen to the podcast will recognise that and know that. I think one thing it is worth saying is that we have every intention of making this fleet as good as we can. There's been some really good work done over the past few years from Hull Trains, Angel Trains, who are the leasing company who actually own them, and also Grand Central, who also have some 180s in their fleet, to try and work on improving the performance, and the performance has actually improved sort of year on year from where it was a few years ago. And I just think it's important people who are listening will recognise that, and to hear that we are intending to continue that journey and to make this a reliable fleet for use on EMR. Certainly something that we would look to surpass the HST, what the HSTs achieve in terms of miles per technical instant, and go beyond that. So.
And in terms of ongoing maintenance, is that going to happen in our depots? And do we know which one it's going to be stabled out going forward?
We do. So Etches Park is going to look after the 180s.
Excellent.
So they currently look after our 6+2 HSTs. which ultimately the 180s will then sort of replace those at the back end of this year.
Mm-hmm.
So Etches Park will be the home depot and we'll be doing the maintenance. So a real good opportunity for Etches Park to take ownership of this fleet and show what they can do.
Tomorrow morning we're meeting with our industrial designers to go through the latest where they are with the interior design for the Class 360s and for the 810s and for the 170s. So that means we're getting really close to having some great visuals to share. And I saw just a sneaky peek of one on Friday of the new Bimode, which looks great. And then I think we're expecting some 170s soon, aren't we?
Physically,
yeah,
real trains.
Ours coming to us.
Real trains, we are. So people may already appreciate that we have some 170s that are ours, that are running around in operation with our colleagues in Scotland. And the first two of those are due down our way in March. So
which is Sunday.
Although they are hopefully receiving a coat of paint on their way down, so they'll
that'd be nice.
come immediately here. But when they come, they should be in our livery, which is be fantastic to have them on the depot in EMR livery.
So I've got some ideas of we ought to do. So if we get them painted before they come down onto the EMR network, which is the intention, I've got some ideas of some things I think we ought to do with getting the visibility of them out and about, probably around Nottingham Station or something like that, when they first come and land on the network. And we ought to do something for our something around with our staff and
absolutely
around that, because we've done a main line. We've got the Meridian 104 in the full livery. But this will be the first of the regional fleet in the full livery, and I think that's really exciting, and we ought to take that opportunity before it disappears off into the depot and on driver training and things like that, to use that visibility and maybe do something with the staff, certainly in and around the regional routes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to be looking and talking to my new team about some of the exciting things we might do around that.
Cool, look forward to it. That'll be good. Anything else to share for this week? I mean, that sounds like enough to be getting on with, to be honest.
No, there's lots of less exciting things happening in the commercial world. But,
Chris!
No, I'm not. Exciting.
We'll cut that bit.
It's exciting to me and my team. I'm not sure it's exciting to everybody listening. Yeah, cut that.
Cut that bit out. It'll be fine. Okay, bro. I think we should call this bit
I'm
to a
most
close.
important, it's my birthday this week, just getting it in there, you know.
Is it?
If anyone who wants to add to my model train collection.
20 again.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you very much, Gareth. Next week we'll be talking about Class 360s and the 110 mile an hour mod.
Brilliant.
Yeah? That sound good?
That's good.
All right, brilliant. Yeah. Well, join us again next week. Thank you very much. I am recording now. So.
You said don't get your haircut doing a podcast, but it's a podcast.
That's going straight in.
That's it. I always do a little bit at the end that's like an outtake. I think that's going to be the outtake.
Great.
Gareth got a haircut for the podcast.
Well, no, you didn't, did you?
No.
No.